Now in the studio by Wafik Moustafa, who's the chair of the Conservative Arab Network. And thank you very much indeed for taking the time to come in and talk to us. Tell me initially what you think of what's happening at the moment in Egypt.
I think it's a great turning point, huge opportunity for Egypt and for the Arab world and for the Muslim world to show a change. If you can turn Egypt into democracy, into a stable country, not just a police state as it has been for 60 years, I think it's a tremendous event in history for Britain, for America, and above all, for the ordinary man in the street in Cairo.
Okay, so what about President Moubarak? Why haven't we heard from him, do you think?
I think President Moubarak, he's a very arrogant man, extremely arrogant, with a lot of people around him, his wife, his 2 children. They just took the country for granted. And he's shocked. I could imagine he's shocked, and he is pretty confused. And he doesn't know what to do.
So I mean, the role of the army in all this is going to be critical. We've seen that it's appeared on the streets in various cities throughout Egypt, in some places welcomed, but it's not actually clear what it's there to do, is it? What do you think the army is going to do?
I think what I've seen, the pictures a few moments ago on ALJAZERRA, it is not the British Army, it's a presidential guard, which is basically the guard for the president of Egypt, which is about 22,000 strong. It has got its tanks, even it has got its jets. It's a very strong, it does not have any connection with the Egyptian army.
But at this stage, is it following the orders of President Moubarak, or has it gone rogue?
It is very unclear, but I could imagine it's the only part of the army he can control. It seems to me he has no control in the army, and I could imagine the army going to move on and get rid of Moubarak, or he probably will leave the country. It's a very difficult and very dark situation in Egypt. He's got his own Boeing 777. As you know, it's a very luxurious
aircraft. So do you think that it's likely that will we be in a situation like we were in Tunisia, where suddenly the president disappears off in the plane? Is that what you expect to happen?
That's a big possibility, because what other choices will he have? He will be tried. There's huge wealth have been taken out of Egypt, assets been taken abroad. As you could know, he's got real estate, he and his family, in hundreds of millions. Some people say billions, but it's huge. Amount of money which the Egyptian poor needed to build hospitals, to build schools, and I'm sure the Egyptian people will not let it go, and it is a moment, a Ceausescu moment anyway, for Egyptians and for the Arab world, and for the moderate Islam, by the way. It's not the Muslim Brotherhood in the street, it is the ordinary person in the street, middle class, who is interested in the net, who is interested to talk to people, who are interested in finding decent jobs. And you could see them, they're all people who earn very little. A doctor in Egypt earn very little, earn about £50 a month, less than road sweeper in Gaza. It's an appalling situation, and Moubarak should take responsibility.
Okay, Dr. Moustafa, you make your point very forcefully. Thank you very much indeed for talking to us.
Thank you.
And now we can join Dan Nolan again, who's on the phone for us from Cairo. So Dan, I gather you've got some more information for us.
Yes, I do. You were asking before about the relationship between the protesters and the military. At the moment, down here in front of us, we can see a military vehicle, an armoured personnel carrier, that has been stopped by the protesters. It's been stopped right in its tracks and is now being surrounded by around 400 or 500 protesters who have been standing in front of it, chanting down with the regime. Some appear to have tried to climb on board this vehicle. The vehicle, they must be in communication with each other now, because they have stopped trying to what would appear to be attack it, but they are still there surrounding it. It can't move at all. It's turned its lights off and has sort of given up on trying to move forward or back, because it is surrounded by around 500 people on all directions. Now, this would indicate that it's certainly not a friendly exchange. It's certainly not flag waving to each other like we were seeing earlier tonight. And just looking across from there, there is a constant flood of protesters. This intersection that we're looking out over is one of the key intersections of Cairo. It connects the October 6th bridge with downtown Cairo, and one road leads back down to Tahrir Square, and this is just being flooded with people constantly moving from one direction to the other. All we can hear is a constant chanting of "down with the regime, down with the regime." I can now see more armoured personnel carriers moving down the street from Tahrir Square back down towards this area, the Ramses area, where we are. So it's a constantly changing movement of people. We're seeing a lot of military vehicles coming through, and we're also, as we were discussing earlier, have a fantastic view of the fire that has completely engulfed the National Democratic Party headquarters. It is completely alight. There would appear to be no hope of putting this fire out from this point. And the black smoke that it's producing is wafting through across the entire city.
Dan, we've seen, watching pictures just now of many people who've been injured. We've had one report around 870 injured. Presumably that's a lot to do with the tear gas canisters being fired.
It certainly would be, but the noises that we are hearing coming from echoing across the city that appear to be originating somewhere around Tahrir Square or a little bit further away, that noise is being fired at such a rapid pace that it has got to be something more than tear gas canisters. We would, and then you may have just heard an even louder explosion then, which we've been hearing a little earlier in the evening, that we believe are sound grenades to try and stun people and clear a path. But yeah, it would certainly. We've got, from where we are 24 floors above downtown Cairo. We cannot get any sense of injuries or otherwise of what's happening below us. All we can get is this bird's eye view of who's moving